Hello folks, welcome back then. If you missed last episode of the 1,000 Years in the Future save database, however you want to describe it, then go back and watch the other video. The link to that is in the description. Also, a big thanks once again to Lorf Yimzo who put this together. A lot of the questions were based on like how teams in England have done. The spreadsheets, if you go look on his Reddit post, there are spreadsheets to tell you exactly how many league titles each team in England won. So I do highly recommend you checking those out. There might be some things you've asked in the comment section of the last video that will be easily displayed in the post that he put on the Reddit. So please go and check that out. As I say, links in the description. Now, the most requested thing we saw was the kind of where are they now, the Premier League. So I've got a new little feature I like to call, here it comes, where are they now? Ooh, that's fancy. So yeah, I looked through the Premier League teams and I said to myself, right then, where are they? I had to go look through the current Premier League lineup going into this season. So here we are then. Premier League, Bournemouth, Manchester City and Tottenham. In that order, funnily enough. The Championship, quite a few teams in this one. Arsenal, Aston Villa, Chelsea, Norwich, Stoke, Sunderland, Swansea and West Ham. Moving further down then, League 1, Crystal Palace and Liverpool. League 2, Manchester United and Southampton. Weirdly enough, Manchester United have gone down. FC United and Manchester, who are in the conference, are going up. So I don't think that's the first time they've crossed over, because Manchester United have been a bit yo-yo. But yeah, sort of thought that was quite interesting. In the conference, there are no teams whatsoever, which I found a bit surprising. In the Northern Vanarama Conference thing, Everton and Newcastle. In the South area, Watford are in that section. And even further down, the two lowest fallers in the Southern Premier Division, Leicester City, and in the Northern Premier Division, it's West Bromwich Albion. So yeah, that's sort of the rundown of all that for those that are interested. Now let's look at the Premier League records. Quite a few people interested. Again, these records are available on the Reddit, but this might be a little bit easier for some people. You can see there, Sheffield United have won the Premier League 168 times in the 1,000 years that precede. Well, okay, I think they may have won it like early sort of 20th century, but you know what I'm saying. 21st century, you know what I'm saying. 19, whatever it would have been. But overall, 168 times, that was a mess. But there you are anyway. The highest attendance you can see there, 112,000 people at Burnley's stadium. It's a ridiculous figure. They have the biggest attendance of all, or biggest stadium of all the teams in the world. Not in the world, actually, but in England, because there was a Champions League thing that I'll show you a little bit later on, which had an even bigger attendance. But 112,000, all-seater stadium. It's a bit ridiculous. The Harry Potts Arena. Sounds magical, doesn't it? So yeah, I guess, as again, it takes a few minutes, seconds to go through each of these pages. So we're going to switch to the England team, because that's been quite like a big thing for everyone to be interested in as well. So we'll look at that now. So the major question marks, and we'll look at the World Cup as well in a second, but the major question marks was, how did England do? How did they get on? Well, 42 World Cup wins, obviously 41 since the save because of the 1960s. Have you heard England won the World Cup in 1966? It's true, we really did. But since then, 41 wins across a 1,000-year period. Is that good? I feel like Greg Dyke would have wanted more, but I guess we'll go with the 41 wins. We'll take it. And 68 European Football Championships, which is basically the Euros for anyone that's wondering. A couple of Confederation Cup wins, amongst a few other things in there. You can see 72 Under-20 World Cup wins, which is pretty impressive. And they've been to lots of finals as well, I should point out. But let's look at the World Cup then. Let's flick through some of the surprising things, more like the current winners and the past winners. So what I mean by that is, as you can see, there's quite a big list. I do believe, again, there's figures on the Reddit page, so go and check those out. So these are the results that happened sort of after sort of now, effectively. So 2018, Italy, and then England, Argentina, France, Colombia, Portugal, teams you might recognise. And then if you look to sort of the 1,000 years, you can see again the teams pretty similar from 1982. Argentina, France, Spain, Ecuador, England, France, England, Italy, doing it twice as well. So yeah, you can see there quite a lot of teams doing some remarkable stuff, and here are the records for that. We'll wait. I'll skip ahead. It takes a little while to load. Okay, so if we take a look at some of the records, you can see here that the highest attendance figure has not been broken. The most time winners, though, is England with 42 different ones. Weirdly, the biggest win was in 2066, so quite, like, in relative terms, quite close to the current day, which was a 10-0 win by Spain versus Australia, the highest scoring game. It's a record from 1954, so that's stayed intact. Most games won in a row. You can see there England went 17 games from the 28th of June to the 10th of June over a 8-year period. 17 games unbeaten, so they obviously won it quite a few times over that. Top goal scorer, we had an Argentine, Franco Rodriguez, 158. It's very confusing seeing years that haven't happened yet and saying them out loud. And as you can see, if you want to pause the screen, have a little flick through some of those, then you can do. But overall, it's been quite an interesting time looking through the World Cup things. There's a few surprises in there. Ecuador won it on a couple of occasions. The best player from the last World Cup, I know a lot of people were requesting who are like the best players of now. Well, the best performer at the most recent World Cup in 2014, again, sounds weird, is this guy. He's a Spaniard at Real Madrid, and he looks pretty similar to a lot of the sort of regions you get that come through in central midfield, but he was the top performer at the World Cup. We'll have a little look through at some of the best players or the most valuable players on the current save as well in just a moment. So the next thing that was hotly requested was the Champions League. Now, as you can see, much like the World Cup, you can see the most recent winners to now. So Real Madrid dominated quite a lot. Liverpool were even in there. Juve, Leverkusen, Barca. A lot of teams that you'd maybe assume would be there. Most surprising, 2031, the biggest shock, like at the beginning, would be Stoke. One in 2031. That Stoke Alona vibe is really working out for them. If we look at the other end, you can see, again, not that dissimilar, even in current day. But like I said in the last episode, that reputations for the clubs outside of England stay relatively the same. So the top teams in those divisions just remain the top teams. If you did a database which spread across 6 or 7 different leagues, the results would be vastly different. But I guess to sort of counteract that, if you look at the English teams that have won in recent years, you can see the most recent one in England for a little while was Ipswich. Moving up, we've got Hull there a couple of times. Rotherham are in there as well. Let's keep scrolling through, see if we can see others. Rotherham are a powerhouse of English football. They really are. Burnley won it, what's that, 5 times in the space of 7 years? That's kind of ridiculous. Sheffield United again were another team that absolutely powered through the save. One of the most successful teams you can see again there. Rotherham and Burnley cleaning up. I think Rotherham, Burnley and Sheffield United are three of they are the sort of Chelsea, Manchester United, Manchester Cities of this time. So yeah, very interesting again, and we'll look through something else. Much like I did for the World Cup, I thought I'd show you the best player from this year's Champions League. Again, we saw the Spanish central midfielder. We're going to bring you Luigi Fogoroli, who's an Inter Milan player who scored a massive amount of goals, worth about 50 million, so probably on the most valuable player list as well. You can see physically very good, technically very good, mentally very good. 28 years of age, you can see he's been a bit of a stud. He's like a Christian Vieri reincarnated. Is that the word? Reincarnated, maybe. Now you can see there his goal scoring record for Inter is pretty solid too. And he was the top performer in this year's Champions League, scoring 13 goals 12 goals, in 13 appearances, which is pretty good. So, one of the most requested things, aside from looking at England, looking at the Premier League teams, looking at some of the best players, was the Hall of Fame. So many people wanted to see the Hall of Fame, see who the top managers were of the time. Cyril Augustin, I think that's how you'd say it, the PSG manager. He was the PSG manager for a very long time. This is in 2404. He got 25, you can see there from his honours. 25, like the fact they've had to put ... suggests he's done pretty well, in my opinion. He won domestic divisions 25 times, 23 French Cups, 24 Champions Trophies, 5 Club World Cups, 1 European Cup, 5 Champions League wins. Basically, guys, this man did an awful lot. But obviously, this is kind of to do with it. Like you can see there, not an English manager in sight, or even a British manager in sight for that matter. So let's take a quick look at the British continent, or nation, which is what it's actually known. Now, this is fascinating. You can see there that Conor Rogan managed 4 teams in his time. Burnley, Palace, Hull and Barnsley. Won all sorts of things. 11 Premier League wins. But I think the major thing here is Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester United is still considered the second best manager after a millennium, which I find to be fantastic. He's the only surviving manager to still be on the list, and it shows just how good he was for Manchester United. 13 Premier League wins stretching from 93 to 2013, and even some of the managers that have had another millennium to have a go at him, only this Conor Rogan chap was able to mount any kind of challenge. And even then, he didn't quite win as many Premier Leagues as Sir Alex Ferguson. So I guess we give him quite a lot of credit for that. I think he won, 12 Premier Leagues in total? And obviously Ferguson won 13. So that's remarkable, and I think that's something to be noted. Again, the worldwide figures for the Hall of Fame would look vastly different, but due to the fact that the leagues weren't loaded again, it's kind of reputation based. You can see that PSG and Bayern and Sao Paulo, some of the bigger teams from the nations that are still surviving and thriving as well, are still topping those charts. So yes, that almost brings us to the end. Is there anything I should look at? Now, to look at players, I have to quickly add a manager. So I'll do that. We'll move along, and we'll check out some of the top players from the database. Okay then, folks. So what I've done is take a look at it from there's a player called Xavier Alonso. Sorry, I put myself as a Liverpool manager and then noticed a player called Xavier Alonso who's Spanish. It just made me think of Xabi. I'm sorry, and I've clicked his name. That was a mistake. I won't show you him because I can't not show you him now. I have to look at him. He's pretty good. He's 28. And he ain't bad. I'll say that much. He scores a lot of goals. So, not that this is really a justification for how good the players are, but it's the best way that I can seem to do it, is looking at the top 3. So we'll go through the players. Well, actually, top 4, because there's a Derby player in there, which is quite interesting. Luke Leggett, what a name. So this guy is Daniel Karpazunka, I think, from Lazio. So we'll take a quick look at him. So he's worth £56 million, and you can kind of see why. One of the most well-rounded strikers you'll ever see, I think. That is... There's some pretty remarkable stats in it. Like off the ball looks pretty nice with his finishing, dribbling, crossing. This man can do it all, I would say, for a striker. Right, now we're going to take a quick look at the Burnley right midfielder / striker, Roxroy McClary. What a fantastic name that is, Roxroy McClary. I'm a fan of it. If we take a look at his stats, pretty similar to the guy we just looked at, actually, and playing for Burnley on £250,000 a week. Credit to him, 40 goals in 55 appearances. Some of the England players, I didn't show you, but some of the England players had remarkable records. There was a guy with like 133 goals in 120 appearances, which, you know, as a goal scoring record goes, that ain't bad. Another Italian for you, Luigi Fogaroli, also looks pretty solid. Yeah, I guess there's going to be a theme here, folks. The players who are worth the most are going to be pretty good. And the final one to take a look at, Luke Leggett, the 24-year-old Englishman. Not made that many appearances for a 24-year-old worth 44 million. But again, looks pretty solid. A modern-day sort of Steven Gerrard / Michael Carrick / any other central midfielder that you might be a fan of. So, I don't want this video to be 2 hours long, although it most certainly could be. If there's anything else you'd like me to look at, I can do a part 3 to this if you wish, that you don't feel I've looked at. Again, if you can avoid single clubs, then I can help you out. And if there's anything that you don't really mind if I look at in a video, then I'll answer it in the comments section. Leave things in there, and I'll try and help you out with an answer. So if you enjoy this kind of video, please leave a like. If you want to see more of this kind of video, then maybe subscribe to the channel. Maybe we'll do some more experiments next week. Wink. So yeah, again, check out the Reddit post. It is one of the best Reddit posts I've seen in the Football Manager subreddit. It's the most rated, like highest rated on Reddit of all time. Massive credit to Lorf Yimzo. And you might have noticed as well, multiple media corporations have picked it up and run with the story too, which is great to see that so many people are interested in what Football Manager can do. So, from me, Dr. Benji, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Again, if you've got more things that you'd like me to check out, leave it in the comment section below, and I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.